Okay, good morning. Coming to sit today. You can either sit in a cross-leg position, or if you're comfortable to sit on the shins, you can do that as well. You may want to just pop a block or a pillow underneath you. Just take some of the strain off of the knees. So we're going to do a little bit of rehab work today, therapeutic work into the joints. So working into wrists, ankles, shoulder joints, and the hip joints as well. It's going to be fairly gentle work, trying to increase the range of motion. And all you need to do is just really feel into where your resistance starts. So generally, when we talk about the joint flexibility and resistance, it's quite a large, diverse space from where we start to feel the tension, and then when we've gone over and beyond the safe space of the tension. So within that safe space, there's actually quite a large amount of play. And so what I'd like you to do today is when you come into the pose, start at the very beginning, the very first edge of resistance, and then just slowly soften into that safe space of play. No, never reach the end. You're not trying to push through to the final point of resistance. Once we do that, that's when things start to hurt, and that's when we start to damage the body. So just being very mindful and aware of where the space is for you to play in today. So before we get to that, let's just come into a bit of a mindfulness practice to center our body, center our mind, and start to connect all the different aspects of ourselves into a feeling of unity and connection. As you sit in your comfortable position, start to find that space of balance. Where you feel equally active and passive. Where the body is growing tall towards the sky and rooting down towards the earth. Where your breath feels full and expansive, but also natural and manageable. Noticing any areas of tension. You usually feel the large areas first: shoulders, backs, hips. Soften and release into those spaces. But also start to check into the small areas of the body. The jaw, the space between the eyebrows, and start to activate into Ujjayi breath, in and out through the nose. Creating a soft sigh on the inhale, a soft sigh on the exhale. If you find that your mind starts to wander, as you breathe, you may want to chant a mantra, inhaling so, exhaling hum. And this has many different effects on the body and the mind. But one of the most important is that it gives your mind something to concentrate on. When our mind has a focus and a purpose, we find it much easier to stay in the present and not let the disrupting thoughts take over. At any point during the practice today, if you find that you have wandered off, just return yourself to the breath, inhaling so, exhaling hum. Gently start to open the eyes. Inhale, lifting up the back of the spine, and then as you exhale, turn your gaze over one shoulder. Slide your shoulder back away from the ear. Inhale to center and turning the gaze over the other shoulder. Inhaling to center, lowering one ear to one shoulder. Inhaling to center, lowering to the other shoulder. Inhaling to center, exhaling chin to chest. Slide the shoulders away as the head becomes heavier. Inhale to lift back to center, and then turn the gaze up, keeping the back of the neck long. Keep depressing the shoulders down, and now push your lower jaw forward. And then back to center. Start to roll the shoulders in nice big circles. Breathing with the movement. And then changing the direction of the roll, other way around. Coming back to center, inhale, lifting the hands overhead. Hook the thumbs and spread the fingers wide. And now really actively reach your fingers away from the midline, away from each other, spreading the hands out. On the inhale breath, bring the hands together, interlocking the fingers, pointing forefinger and thumb and drawing the hands forward. So your fingertips are now in line with your chest. You're going to work into protraction, retraction with the shoulders. So you round your shoulder blades, reaching the hands forward, and then you draw the shoulder blades in, bringing the hands slightly back. Flow with your own pace here. And keeping in mind, we're not moving into cat-cow pose with the spine. This is isolated into the shoulder girdle only. You may feel a very slight movement in the spine. That's okay. But try not to exaggerate the spinal movement as we isolate into the shoulders. This can be very challenging to do, especially if you spend a lot of time at a desk. This area becomes quite stagnant, leaning over, and so the protraction, retraction can feel very, very deep and quite tiring. But just keep moving through it and using the breath to release. One more. And then back to center. Let's open the arms out to the sides now. And open up your chest as wide as you can, drawing the hands way back. Squeeze into the biceps and the triceps. And then come forward with the hands, and this time round into your back completely. Bring the fingertips to touch, chin to chest. Lift the pubic bone. Inhale, opening out here. Draw the hands back. Let's lift the chin, stick the tailbone out, and arch into the back. So this is more like your cat-cow pose now. And you're going to flow at your own pace again. Rounding and then arching into the back, but also working now into the chest, into the shoulder girdle. And moving as fast or as slow as your body wants to be moved today. Let's just do one more. And then coming up to center. So you're probably feeling these shoulders quite a lot already. Let's just soften into the shoulders for a moment and come into a gentle forward fold. Let your head drop here, let your hips sink down. And soften the space across the shoulders, soften the neck. Rolling yourself back up to sit. And now we're going to interlock the fingers and push the palms to face forward. We're working into some finger stretching here. So really push the, I don't know what this part of the hand is called. Push this part of the hand forward to get a nice stretch into those finger knuckles, the finger joints. And then turning it the other way around, you're going to now bring the back of the hands together, fingers interweaving between one another, and then pressing the back of the hands as tightly together as you can, working the wrists towards one another. To deepen this, you're going to start to do little pulses with the hands up and down. If you have very tight wrists, you're going to feel this quite intensely, so just be gentle. If you've got a little bit more space, then you can drop the hands a bit further. Just remember to work mindfully with the joints. Let's turn that around again, interlocking the fingers the other way and pushing the palms forward. Even pull the thumbs back. So the thumbs won't necessarily touch, but keep pulling the thumbs towards your chest. And then releasing from there. Give the wrists some nice big circular rolls. And really exaggerate the size of the circle. Change it around. And then coming to center. A little shake just to soften. And we're going to work into the fingers now. Bring your hands in front of you, and as though you were playing a piano, playing pinky, ring, middle, forefinger, thumb. And so you're going to create this lovely fluid motion from pinky to thumb. And really paying attention here, trying to get one finger to fluidly follow the next. And we're going to change that around, so going thumb to pinky. And just notice how that shift affects the body, affects the mind, and then flick. So when you flick, you're extending those fingers way out, making them super long, and get a nice firm flick. So squeeze that thumb and then flick those hands out. So we're working into the little muscles of the top of the hand, into the little muscles of the wrist. These are not muscles we work very often, so it can feel a bit tiring, but just keep going. And then little shake, little release. Okay, let's come over onto hands and knees now. Checking that the hands are under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Spread your hands a bit wider and bringing the pinky finger towards the edge of the mat. Spread the fingers and make sure there's the same amount of color between each finger, so you can see the same amount of mat. And I'll roll the weight towards forefinger and thumb and slightly grip the tips of the fingers into the mat. It doesn't have to be a full grip with the finger joints buckling, but you just want to feel that engagement of the tips of the fingers. Let's flow through cat-cow pose. Inhaling into cow pose and exhaling into cat at your own pace. Come back into neutral spine, and now you're going to turn your hands facing outwardly. You can keep them here, or you can start to turn them to face back towards your legs. So anywhere between those 2 points. And again, gripping into the tips of the fingers and flowing through cat-cow pose. Coming back to neutral spine, turn the hands to face forward, and then rotating the wrists into the opposite direction, so turn them to face each other, and you can choose to keep it there or start to move the fingers a little bit further back. So for most people there's less flexibility in this direction. Just keep that in mind, and then flow through your cat-cow. Noticing how the rotation of the hands has affected the movement in cat-cow pose, how this is affecting the shoulders, the neck, your overall space. And then coming back to center. Bring the hands to face forward again, and I'll draw the knees together, tuck your toes, press the heels towards each other, and come to sit into your heels. We're just going to soften into the joints of the wrists now. So slow, gentle wrist rolls. Using this as a restorative movement rather than an activating one like we did earlier. Just a little massage into those joints. If you want to shake the hands out, you can. Bringing in a bit of softness and floppiness. Restorative release. And hopefully keeping you distracted away from the toes and the feet. Let's come now to sit onto the tops of the feet. So point the toes, sitting into the heels. You're going to lift up nice and tall here. Be mindful of what's happening in the lower back. On your inhale breath, open the arms out to the sides. And then as you exhale, you're going to bring the elbows, forearms, and palms to touch, getting the fingertips to line up with its counterpart. Really squeeze the elbows together here, and we're going to do little pulses up and down. You want to keep the elbows as close together as you can manage as you pulse. So if we lift and the elbows open, we're losing a lot of the benefit here. Rather keep the movement small and the elbows together. One more. And then let's inhale to open out to the sides. And now bring your hands behind you, holding onto opposite forearms. So depending on how tight the shoulders are, you might only get to the wrists, you might get to the forearms, or maybe you can tuck your fingers around the elbows. So just whatever feels good for you. Be mindful not to let the rib cage pop too wide. Just going to simply hold here and breathe. If you need to come off your shins, please feel free to do so and sit in a regular cross-leg position. Let's switch the hands around. So different elbow on top, or hold onto a separate wrist, switch the arms around, and keep breathing. And then let's release from here. Bringing the hands down to the floor and lifting up into tabletop again. Now I'm going to take your right foot back, tucking the toes, and push into the heel. And again, a few pulses here, coming forward onto the toes and then pushing back into the heel, flowing at your own pace. So this is working into toe flexibility, into an ankle, Achilles tendon stretch, stretching the calf, and even the hamstring a little bit if you're getting a nice deep press into the heel. Come back to center, float the leg up, and let's work into ankle rolls. So an ankle roll is very simple, yet very effective. And if you've got any issues with the ankles, you'll feel them in the ankle roll. Let's change the direction. Actually builds up quite a deep strength into the stabilizers of the ankle and even the calf muscles. Come into a flexed foot, and now we're going to exhale, bring knee to face. Inhale, extend, knee to right upper arm. Inhale, extend, knee to left upper arm. Inhale, extend, repeating, face. Inhale, right side. Inhale, left side. Inhale, one more time, face. Inhale, right side. Inhale, left side. Inhale, lift up. And now coming to the right, not all the way to the arm, but just halfway into lamppost pose. So your knees more or less in line with the hip. Flex that foot. And now let's work into the hip joint by working a circle with the knee. The straighter the arms and the less you lean to the side, the more you're going to isolate that hip joint. Get a nice big circle happening here. Let's change the direction of the circle, other way around. And you may feel your left glute is really activating here as it stabilizes the body. Inhale, lift up. Let's extend the leg out to the side and then lower it to the floor. Going to lift that leg back up. Inhale and exhale to the floor. 2 more times. Lifting up, lower, lifting up and lower. Coming now to stand on your left knee. I like to point my right toes forward. You may feel better pointing to the side. Bring your hands out either side of you and then leaning over your straight leg. This is going to catch into that hip joint. So soften, breathe into that space. It's inhale to the center and then coming down the other side. So left hand to the floor, right arm up. And then reach the right arm over. Lift your hip. Press your baby toe to the mat, making a rainbow shape. So we're in an arced shape with the top line of the body. Inhale to come back up and then releasing hands to the floor. Slide your foot back. Coming into tabletop again. Let's take it now to the left side. So starting by tucking into the left toes. And a few little pulses here, working the ankle joint. Let's come back to center, float the leg off the floor, and working into ankle rolls. Take notice of the differences between the two sides. Often if you struggle with an ankle roll on one side, you'll also notice that when you do standing balances on that side, you have a harder time balancing on that leg. Let's change the direction of the roll. And now flex into the foot. Exhale, knee to face. Inhale, extend. Exhale, left side. Inhale, exhale, right side. Inhale, exhale, face. Inhale, exhale, right. Inhale, exhale, left. Inhale, last time, exhaling face. Inhale, exhaling right. Inhale, exhaling left. Inhale, lifting out to the left side, not all the way to the hand, but about halfway. And working into these hip joints. Start with lovely circles in one direction. change the direction other way. And then extending the leg out to the side. Slowly lower the leg down and then inhale to lift back up. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. 2 more times. Last time. And then lowering down, checking that the foot is in line with your knee as you come to stand up on that right knee. Turn the toes either to the side or facing forward. Reaching the arms long, and let's fold over the straight leg. Reaching from the knee to the finger all the way down the side of that torso. Coming to the other side, bringing the right hand down, the left arm up, and then over the body, stretching into that side torso. So actively press down through the foot, reach the fingers in the opposite direction, and lift the hips up to make that arched shape. Let's sweep the hand back down to the mat, drawing the knee back to the floor into tabletop. Hands a little bit forward and making our way into downward facing dog. Working into heel toe in down dog. And now bringing a twist into the movement. So as you bend one knee, you turn away to gaze underneath the opposite arm. Bending the other knee and turning in the other direction. Make sure that the neck feels as though it's a continuation of your spine. So it's not moving separately to the rest of the spine. And then coming to the center, sinking your heels down, lift the hips up and back, lift your gaze to look between the thumbs, and then exhale, tuck your chin all the way into your chest. Inhale, lift the gaze, and exhale, chin to chest. One more time, lift the gaze. Exhaling, chin to chest. And then either walking hands to feet or feet to hands, making your way into ragdoll. Bend your knees, let your arms flop, they can touch the floor, hang in space, hold onto opposite elbows, whatever feels good. Hold your ragdoll for a couple of breaths and really try to let go and surrender here, feeling the length of the spine pull down, the weight of the head pull you down. You're going to drop the hands, bend your knees deeply, and roll yourself up really slowly. There's no rush here. Actively press into the heels, actively engage the thighs. Feel as though you're lifting from the shoulders, as though there is a coat hanger across the back of the shoulders that's pulling you up. The chin is the very last thing to lift in a soft alignment. And we're going to come back down again. So bend your knees, tuck your chin to your chest, and slowly melt your way to the floor. The arms are heavy, the head is heavy. Feeling as though you are releasing from the crown of the head, working down the spine. at the bottom here, you're going to drag your fingers along the floor in a figure of 8 movement. Make sure your knees are bent as you do this. You may need to lift slightly up if you have quite long hamstrings, so that you don't create resistance as you drag along the floor. And really try to flop your body from side to side, completely releasing. Neck is soft, head is heavy. Coming back to the center, release the hands to the floor, and then walk yourself forward into a downward facing dog. And step the feet hip distance wide again if you had opened the feet earlier. And now taking your right leg up to the sky. On your inhale breath, open the hip to face up, and then on an exhale breath, square the hip so the toes are pointing to the floor. On your inhale, open the hip to the right side, lift the leg higher, and exhale to square the hip. One more time, lift the leg all the way up. Exhale to square the hip, and then hug your knee to your face as you come forward into plank, and drop the foot in between the hands into your lunge. It's drop the back knee down to the floor. Bring the hands onto the front thigh. Lift your chest up, and we're going to work into some gentle pulsing here. So squeeze your hip forward and really squeeze your left glute as you do this. Releasing back. Dropping down, squeeze into that glute, and then lifting up. Squeeze and lift. So these lunge squeezes are going to target this glute muscle really intensely. So if you have imbalance in the glutes, if one is much stronger than the other, doing this a few times on the weaker side will make a big difference. One more. And then coming back to center. Let's release the hands down to the mat. Lift your back knee off the floor. Step the foot in just a little bit, so you've got a bit more space to work with. And now we're going to work into straightening that front leg. Squeeze the knee, and then bending. Inhale to straighten, and exhale to bend. So you can do this with the back knee on the floor as well, but with the back knee up, there's less strain on that knee. So if the hamstrings don't allow you come totally straight with the fingers on the floor, you can always come much further up onto the fingertips, or even bring the hands to the shins. You'll have to activate the core muscles without the support of the hands, but that might give you more space into the hamstring. One more time. Let's release back down, and then stepping into downward facing dog. Breathing into the space. We're now going to take the left leg to the sky. So we start with hips square, toes point to the floor, and then inhale, open the hip, lift the toes to the sky. Exhale, square the hips, toes point to the floor, and inhale, lift that leg up. So keep the knee as straight as you can here. Exhale to square, inhale to lift, rotating the hip joint. One more time, square off the hip, hug the knee to the face so your arms are in a plank pose, and then stepping the foot into your lunge. Dropping the back knee down and hands up onto the front thigh. So if you need to, you can always fold your mat over if you have sensitive knees. So working into our glute activation. little pulses and squeeze that back glute as you pulse. So imbalanced or weak glutes can have a negative effect on the joint structure, especially the lower back and the SI joints, which are these knobbly bones connecting the pelvis and the spine. Often you'll notice if you have imbalanced joints in these lunges, these pulse lunges, where on the one side you can squeeze that glute really easily, on the other side you feel that disconnect, it's hard to do it. That is often an indication that one of the glutes is not firing at its optimal level. Okay, releasing the hands down to the mat, lifting your back knee off the floor, step the foot in a little bit so you've got a bit more space, and we're going to work into that front knee and hamstring. Inhaling to straighten and exhale to bend. As you do this, you press the big toe mound down, the baby toe mound down, and the point of the heel. And when you work into this correct activation of the foot, you lift the arch of the foot up. So you're creating a little suction cup effect. That's going to stabilize the ankle. Paying attention to the minor muscles as opposed to just the major ones. Very often we focus on what the quads and the hamstrings and the back muscles are doing, and we have no idea what our feet and fingers and smaller muscles are doing. Let's do one more. And then back to center. From here, we're going to step it forward into flat back. So coming to the front of your mat, feet hip distance parallel. Let's draw the hands to the shins. Reach your head forward, reach your tailbone away, looking at the floor so the back of the neck is long. Now imagine your sitting bones are going to spread away from one another, and that we're trying to concave the middle to upper back a little bit. And when you concave that upper back, you notice how the chest opens and broadens in response. Try to maintain this alignment now as you forward fold. You can lightly hold the back of the ankles. So you'll notice how the upper back is naturally going to round a little bit here. See if you can try and bring back that sensation of a concaved upper back. Let's lift back into flat back. Keeping the neck long. Weight is on the front of the feet, not the toes, but the ball of the foot. The heels don't lift up, but they are light. Let's exhale to fold again. See if you can go a little bit deeper this time. Lengthening the neck out of the turtle shell. One more time, lifting yourself into a flat back. And then coming into chair pose. So bend your knees, sweeping the fingers along the floor to lift up. Chair pose, we often focus on what's happening in the back and the thighs, but feel how your Achilles tendons stretch here. Press those heels into the floor. Drop your hips down low, and you should feel there's a lovely stretch happening up the back of the ankle and into the calf muscle. So it's a really good pose for ankle joint stabilizers. The knees have to work here, so you squeeze into the adductors, into the vastialis muscles and the abductors, all at the same time to stabilize those knees. Let's come up onto the toes now, keeping the knees bent and reaching the hands back. Press big toe and baby toe to the floor evenly. Lift your heels up. Let's bring the hands together at the heart. Keep the heels off and draw the heels to touch. Now coming to sit. Opening the knees wide. Lift your spine up. Lovely activation into these ankles. From here, we're going to make it down onto the mat, trying not to bring the hands to the floor. So you're going to reach your fingers forward. You're going to sink your heels back, and you're going to try find the balance between the front and back body to sit down with grace all the way to sit. You're going to come to lie down on your back now. So rounding into the spine and gently rolling your way down. Okay, bringing your feet hip distance parallel, close to the sitting bones, hands flat next to the hips. Let's work into some dynamic hip lift. So you're going to curl the tailbone up and then curling back down. So remember that our focus today is working into the minor muscles, not the big ones. They will activate the big ones, but we're shifting our attention into the small little muscles. So think about each teeny tiny little muscle between the vertebrae. Activating into those muscles to create greater flexibility and control into our spinal canal. Remember to use your breath here. Inhaling so, exhaling hum. On your next inhale breath, let's lift up and then walk the shoulder blades underneath the back body. Maybe interlock the fingers if you've got space to do so. Check what's happening with the feet. The big toe arch, the big toe side of the foot, presses down evenly to the baby toe side. Those knees are squeezing towards the midline without touching, just like we did in chair pose. And then the activation of these strong legs lifts the hips even higher, drawing the shoulder blades tightly together. Press the hands into the floor, lift the heart, and then open the shoulders, isolating into all of those small little muscles as you gently come down, one vertebrae at a time. Take the knees to the chest for Upasana. And a little gentle roll from side to side. And so utilizing this roll to give your back a bit of massage, but also working into the joints. So if you roll enough to the side, you'll feel how the hip joint gets a bit of pressure across the SI joint on the lower back, even pressing into the sacrum and tailbone a little bit. And then returning to center. So I'd like to take us into an eagle twist if that's available to you. So you'll wrap your right thigh around your left thigh, hooking the toes behind the ankle. If you can't hook the toes, that's fine, just keep the feet next to one another. And if you can't come into your eagle, then come into a double leg twist. So just to keep the knees together. So take a nice big breath in, and exhale to the left. Maybe placing your hand onto the thigh if that feels good. And then melt your shoulder down to the floor. We've worked into the shoulders and the hips quite deeply without doing a lot of the normal yoga poses. But notice how that work today has affected the body. Let's come back to the center and switching the legs around to the other side. And exhale to release. Let's return to the center. Unwrap the legs, hugging the knees into the chest. Flattening through the back. You can roll if you like to, or hold into stillness. And then making your way into Shavasana. Spreading the feet, spreading the arms, making sure that your back feels spacious and supported. Checking that your neck is elongated. There's no tension in the shoulders, no tension in the jaw. Turn yourself into a calm, quiet space. And you can come into a natural breath now, letting go of Ujjayi. But continue to focus on inhaling the sound So and exhaling the sound Hum. Slowly start to deepen. and lengthen your breath. Running your thumb over the tips of your fingers. Moving your toes, ankles and wrists. Sliding your feet together and extending your arms overhead. Taking a deep, energizing stretch as you yawn or sigh. Bending your knees and rolling onto your side. Keeping your eyes softly closed as you lift up into a comfortable seated position. Just taking a moment to scan the body from head all the way down to toes. Feel the energized pulsating of the blood through all of the joints, bringing oxygen-rich nutrients to all of your cells, removing toxins. Let's draw the hands together at your heart center, and we'll close the class by chanting Om One San Shanti 3 times. Taking a deep breath in. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Raising your hands to your third eye. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Lowering your hands to your lips, to your heart, and to your mat, bowing forward in recognition of your practice. Blinking eyes open, inhaling to sit. Namaste.